Hi everyone. I just wanted to make a really quick video demonstrating some of the differences I've noticed between ray tracing in Unreal Engine 4 and path tracing in the new preview release of Unreal Engine 5. So if you look at this, these are some of the renders that I did for the customizing a MetaHuman face tutorial. And you can see right now, this is with path tracing. And take a look at the same face with the same lighting setup over here with ray tracing. So with path tracing, you get those extra bounces of light, and what a difference it makes. Those extra bounces, it looks like it's really kind of flattening out the image a little bit, and you don't notice the wrinkles as heavily. So if I was using path tracing for this, I would want to probably go in and adjust the lighting in a really big way, just because I really enjoyed, I really like the look of the MetaHuman here. I kind of like the strong directional light. And over here, I wasn't really happy with how path tracing really flattened it out. So I would have to go in, I didn't really adjust the lighting, so I'd have to go in and I have to really modify these settings a bit. Another good example was this one over here. So what I did, here's the ray tracing version, and I turned off all the lights except the key light that's shining over here on this side, and I also kept on the, I think there's like an atmospheric haze or something back here to kind of have that gradient. And you can really see over here with the ray tracing, there's not quite enough bounces, and if I gamma this up, you can see that we got some areas that are at like complete black, complete like 0, 0, 0 kind of things. And with path tracing, because we get those extra bounces, you can see over here how this is going to actually fill that in. We don't get anything at 0. We don't get anything that's kind of clipped. And if I put the gamma back to normal, you can see if I go back and forth between the two, a couple of interesting things. Obviously, we're getting in that fill light, so we're getting a lot more bounce light happening over here, which I think is really cool. And then the other thing that I really like is it really looks to me like there's some subsurface scattering happening, where one of the things you'll notice with subsurface scattering is you get like that kind of color bleed, that you won't get like these hard lines of shadows. You'll get kind of like a smoother gradient as it kind of rolls off. And to me, it feels a little bit more realistic. I mean, it does have a different kind of texture, a different quality to the skin, but I think this is really interesting to see the difference. So over here, we get really hard shadows because I assume the subsurface scattering isn't working quite the same that it is with path tracing. And those extra light bounces kind of help to fill in some of like the really dark shadow areas. So I just thought this was an interesting comparison. I can show you a few others. A few of the other sequences I had, they didn't, when I imported them in from UE4, they kind of crashed a lot and I had to rebuild the sequence. So the animation isn't exactly the same. But if I look over here, you can see the path traced version of this shot. Again, look at the real strong fill light that's happening. And if I look at this one over here, much darker. We see every kind of wrinkle. You see it in a lot more detail. And this one over here was interesting, where you get like part of his head falling off into black, whereas over here, again, sorry, a slightly different camera angle and different animation, but similar lighting setup. And you see how much more fill light we're getting over here onto the side. So I thought it was interesting just to kind of note the differences between the two and how it looks with the MetaHumans. I can, at the end of this video, I'll just tack these on so you can see, and I'll make note of the samples and the render settings that I did.